What's up guys, Farce Knight here. Welcome to this month's Design of the Month. We're going to use Adobe Xd to design one or two screens for the iPhone X. Now I've been wanting to make this video for quite some time with the rumored screen specs for the new iPhone 8 or iPhone X because we were unsure what it was going to be called. Now we know after the announcement that there is an iPhone 8 as well as an iPhone 10, but now that has already been announced, I know the exact screen size, so that's what I'm going to use in order to design this iPhone 10 design. And just as a little side note, if you're wondering why I feel so short compared to my desk, that's one, I recently found out that I like my desk a little bit higher than like the conventional way, and two, this isn't really a desk chair, it's just kind of like more like a lounging chair, but it's so comfortable. And I don't have a desk chair, so this is what I'm using. If you're a desk chair manufacturer and you want to send me a desk chair, let me know. I have a YouTube channel so I can make a video about it. Anyway, let's talk about what we're going to be designing today. So many of you know I'm a computer science undergrad student finishing up my 4th year. And in one of my classes, I was required to propose an idea that'll solve a societal problem. And one of those is encouraging more people to donate to causes that they believe in, and not avoiding it because it's too confusing or they don't know exactly where their dollar is going to go. And I thought, what a good idea would it be to include an app design for this app I'm proposing? And then I remembered that I wanted to create an iPhone 10 design, so why not just create that application for my iPhone 10 design for my YouTube channel and then use it for my YouTube channel as well as for my presentation in class. And that's exactly what I did. So now we're about to hop into Adobe Xd, but first I would like to remind you that I do have 2 other Adobe Xd videos. One, I designed quite a few screens for the iPhone 7 in Adobe Xd, but the one that I made as like a prerequisite to that video was how to design an app, ideas and sketches, I believe it was called. Something along those lines. You can find it in my recent videos. And basically what that is how to formulate your ideas and what you want within your application, actually sketching it out with pen and paper so it's easier to take it from pencil and paper onto Adobe Xd. And it'll save you a whole lot of time, although I didn't do it with this because I'm only designing 1 or 2 screens. I think that's a very important step if you're creating a full-on application design that you plan to implement into your actual application. But without further ado, let's hop into the computer and open up Adobe Xd. So first what we're going to do is open Adobe Xd. I guess that's kind of a given. Actually, I already have a screen open, so it may try to open that, but we will see what it does. Yeah, it wants to open this one, and this is what we're going to be designing. I'm just going to use this as reference to make this go as smoothly as possible, but I'm not going to drag anything from here. We're going to be creating it from scratch like I did this one. So I'm going to just come over to File and then hit New, and this is a screen y'all should get. So we're going to enter 375 for the width and then 812 for the height. As you can see, that is quite a bit more for height than it is for the iPhone 6, 7, or 8, because I believe the 8 is the same dimensions as the iPhone 6 and 7. So, and then we're going to click on this little icon and it'll open up a new screen for us. I'm going to make this big screen to make it easier, and this is it. So this is going to be our home screen, so let's name this home. And we're going to change the background, so once this is selected, appearance, click on the color, solid color, we're going to change the solid color to gradient. And then we're going to make this, let's hit the pound sign, 501, I think it's 232. Yeah, that looks about right. But now we have this side, the top selected. We want to select the bottom. So click on that so it's hollow. I'm going to make this all the way black. And sure, you can change it from up and down to diagonal by changing these around. Or you see how it changes like that. You can make it one way, one half. But like I said, I like it up and down. That's enough with gradients. What we're going to do first, I like to work from back to front and then from top to bottom. So now that we have the back done, I want to work from top, the status bar, to the bottom, which is that footer navigation bar. So let's bring in a status bar. But first, what we're going to do actually, I just noticed, is save. So we want to save this before iPhone X YouTube is what I want to call it, before our computer dies. Although macOS is good about opening stuff back up when it dies. We just want to make sure we save, and then what we're going to do is File, Get UI Kits, Apple iOS. And it'll take us to the Apple web page, developer.apple, and there isn't a status bar for the iPhone 10, but, well, let me correct myself. At the making of this video, there isn't, but right now they have the download for Adobe Xd iOS 11, and I haven't really looked too much, but I don't see where they have like an iPhone 8 versus iPhone 10 selection. So we're just going to download that Yes, agree and download. And we're going to open it once it's done downloading. We're going to open it again, and then we're going to open up the XD file. And first, I just noticed this. I want to download one of the fonts that I really like to use. I like to use SF Pro font. I like the SF Pro display. So what I'm going to do is actually download this via the San Francisco Pro package. I just wanted to read a few things in here. So I open this, introduction, sure. We're just going to go through this real quick. Fast forward now. Alright, so now that we have that installed, just because I like to use the actual fonts that are provided, maybe this will make it a little bit easier. I'm not sure if I have to close and open Adobe Xd again. I'll see that in a second here. But now we have our Apple UI design resources, and we want to import a status bar from this into that. So we have a dark background. We want white status bar. So let's select this. We don't want background selected. We want status bar selected. Command C to copy. Click on this, selected. Command V. And then we're going to drag this, if we can select on this. That's a weird thing. You can't just select like that. You have to actually make sure you're clicking on something that's within it. And then I'm going to lock it into place. We're not going to keep all of this. We're going to delete this Bluetooth part. Double click, backspace, and the 100%, double click, backspace. Make sure you just deleted the 100%. Well, I guess you could delete the whole charge as it is. I lied. But as you can see, now we have a few things left, and I like to pull things from the Apple iOS kit. One, people like familiarity. Of course, the status bar isn't going to change, but people like familiarity when it comes to layouts. So if they're on an Apple device, they want to have that iOS experience, so it's good to kind of incorporate their own design. But we're going to drag these two, and they're already in a group together as the left detail, and drag it over to the right. We're going to keep it centered as best we can. And we're going to change this from 310 to 310.5. And the reason behind that is, let's get in here a little bit. As you can see, when I space away and space 2 using the arrows, it's 4 away. And this is, I didn't even touch these, but this is how it came. If I space away and 2, 4. So I wanted the same spacing from this to that to that. And this battery, I'm going to pull this into the left detail, which is now the right detail. So let's change this to right detail. You want to keep everything organized, okay? Keep it organized or else you're going to get confused. And it doesn't look like this is exactly centered, so let's change that a little bit. I guess I should have done that before I put them all together, but if you just click on one, you can hold down Command or Shift, so now they have both selected. And I want to drop that down a little bit. Looks like I want to have it at 5.5 actually. 5.5? Yeah, see, now it's centered. So I want to save it just because, and I'm going to move this over, make sure this stays centered. And I want this, I think I want this about 25 off. Let me check. No, I want this 23 off. And I want to select all these and make this X equals 299. Which, as you can see, that's 17 from the side, and this one's 23 from the side. But we don't want it all the way up there. We want to drop this down a little bit, and make sure you don't have boundary selected. Make sure you have the whole status bar selected. But like I said before, 6 down, you may already have the option of selecting the Adobe Xd status bar from the UI kit. I don't right now, so I just want to make it look a little bit nice. And I want it to fit into my mockup well, and this is the exact dimensions that fit into my mockup like you saw in the thumbnail. If you want me to make a video on how to incorporate a design like this into a mockup, let me know down below, but I just like to put them in there for thumbnails and for design. It just makes it look a whole lot nicer when you make it on an actual screen like this. Now that we have the status bar up, I'm going to create the top title. So that will be, I'm going to hit T, I'm going to hit space, or I'm going to not hit space, but I'm going to click. I'm going to type in home in all caps. I want to select that. I want to fill it in white. And I want this to be that SF Pro display font. I like that. I'm going to make this bold, I think. I'm going to make the AV12 because I like the way it spaces, and I'll make this 20 just because I incorporate that in all of them, so I want to stay consistent in case I add something else. I'm going to center it within the box, and I'm going to make it 17 size font. And of course I want to select my pointer tool and bring this down to the center right there. When I drop this down for Y equals 41, so it has a nice space from the status bar to this, because this is where that gap will come down. in the iPhone 10. So what we're going to do here, this is already titled Home. I don't really like the look of all caps on over here on this side, so I'm going to change that. And I'm going to close these up so it's all nice and neat. Status bar is done, so I don't need that. Home is done. That's good. What I'm going to do is come over to the UI kit again. I'm going to pull in one of these titles. So I need this. I'm going to bring in this whole box, and I'll tell you here in a second. I want to make sure that the whole box is actually selected. Command C, select on this. Command V. That's good like that. And I want this to be at Y65. Yes, that seems a little close, but what I'm going to do is open this up, and I like to bring it from the UI kit because it's already consolidated into folders. I'm going to change the names, but it's easier this way. I'm going to delete quite a few things. So left accessory, I'm going to open up right accessory, going to open up search field, although I could have selected the one without a search field, like this one right here. Probably should have done that. Oh well, because I'm just going to delete this. Right accessory, which is edit, select, delete, glyph, delete, but we're going to keep the boundary, and we're going to put the title within the left accessory so it's all within the same thing. And boundary is going to have my title within it. So I'm going to drag it in so it's within the boundary. Actually, you know what? I've decided boundary, unnecessary, delete. Alright, so what we're going to take this, we're going to drag it 20, x equals 20, so let's bring it over there. We're going to change it to items, and we're going to Command A to select all. We're going to change this to 33. For some reason, that's how it was in my design, so that's how I'm going to keep it. I'm going to move this back up to 65. I put it at 65 before because that's where items was going to be. In background, delete. I don't want that. So yes, for you it may have been easier just to make two folders. For me, it was just easier to pull it in. I have the font already. I have all these settings, the AV, the spacing, the text, and all of this already selected. So what we're going to do now is change the title of this. So it's items, and we're going to leave title, and left accessory. But within items, we're going to click on this square tool. You can tell by the blue shade that it is, and then draw a rectangle. This rectangle for me is going to be 142 by 215. And we're going to drag this over after selecting this tool over to be x equals 21 because I want it just inside of this. I'm going to take off the border, and I'm going to drop it down 5 spaces to 113. And now with this, I want to make sure I have this square set up because I'm going to be duplicating it using repeat grid here in a second. But first, I want to drag these corners in. And as you can see, the number on the right is changing. I'm going to make it 18. This is the number I was referring to. And I'm going to repeat grid, drag this over so I have a full 3 showing. And then I'm going to drag this to be 7 spaced between. Make sure this is still appropriate. Oh, I forgot one thing to do. Notice it just kind of like drags and it's free. I don't want it to be free. So I'm going to select this. Change this to 15. I normally do this from the beginning and make sure I check the box. So it just makes things easier. So this is going to snap right into place like that. And I think that's exactly where I want it. It's not like I'm going to be able to see this anyway. Right within there. And a cool thing about Adobe Xd, you're able to have images, pull them into a repeat grid, and they automatically scale to size as well as fill everything out. For example, I have these 3 for this section. And see, this is exactly the layout I wanted. And keep in mind that the way you select them and order them within this is the way that they will show up within the design. That's the order that it'll show up. So water, canned food, money in case you want to donate directly to the victim's bank account, the hurricane victims in this case. Alright, so what we're going to do is instead of just going through that whole thing again, we're going to Command C. We want to make sure the repeat grid or bottled, let's make bottled water selected, then Command V. So this will put the text within repeat grid, so it'll show up for everything. Keep in mind, everything you do to this text except change the actual text will change alongside with all the others for consistency. For example, let's change this to say, well, water. Not well water, but water, because I live in the county, we have well water. I'm going to make that say food, and this is, make sure this is already centered like this was, so it is centered. We're going to make this say money. And what we're going to do is change this, make it a shadow because you couldn't really see it. I want to make this shadow as dark as possible. No opacity. Y is going to equal 1. And all X and Y do are change it on the X or Y axis. Whoops. And then I'm going to give you an example. So X, let's put it to 10. Boom. Shifts everything over to the right. If I put a negative sign in front of that 10, it shifts everything over to the left. But let me put that back to 0. Y does the same thing, but up and down. And then B, this is the letter B. I'm going to change this to 5. And this just adjusts the blur. So let me actually change it to 1 just to show you. Very consolidated. 5, change the blur. It looks very nice that way, and you're able to read the words as intended. And actually, I want to make sure this repeat grid, which we're going to call list, not all caps list, but regular list, we're going to pull this into items because that's where it belongs. We want to make sure this is all grouped together. We're going to close that up, and that is how it looks right now. I'm going to click away from it so you can actually see. And that's how it looks right now. We're going to add in Charities now. And Charities section is different but somewhat similar to the items section. So we're just going to select items. So make sure that whole folder is selected. Command C, Command V. It'll make another items folder. We're going to name that Charities. And we're going to pull that down below. And what I like to do, since this is below, I'm going to pull this below. Since status bar is above, I'm going to pull that above. Home needs to be above this. I just like to keep it so status bar, home, items, well, this will be charity, status bar, home, items, charities. So sometimes that won't work because whatever's above will be on top. For example, as you can see, charities is below items. So if I drag this whole charities thing, it'll be under that, as you can see. But I'm going to Command C it back. I'm just going to line this up alongside that, as you can see. Perfect. I'm going to make this 24 spaced in between. So these dimensions are x20, y352. By dimensions, I mean location. So let's change this to charities. And all you can do after you type is hit escape, and that will cause it to exit out of the text field. And we're going to change the shape of these images. So we're going to change it to be width is 292 and height is 134. However, where it says water, canned food, etc., we're going to pull that above this. We're going to pull this image down. So this image location will be x20 and then 431. And the text will be font size 15. I'm going to left align it, and we're going to make this 18. Not that that changes anything, but if we were to enter below it, it would. Then we're going to change the Y position to 407. I may adjust these a little bit, but as of right now, that's how we're going to go with it. And of course, we don't want it overlapping like this, so let's make sure we have list selected. Pull these apart, maybe plus 10. Actually, the others were plus 7, so let's make that consistent. Plus 7. We're going to take off this shadow because we don't need it. And this isn't X20, is it? We need to make that X20. We're going to name this one American Red Cross. And we're going to name this one JJ Watt Foundation. I know it's off screen right now, but that's okay. And then we're not really going to worry about this. All I did there was make sure my repeat grid was to scale, and I didn't have anything else overlapping, so I didn't want there to be a big space here, and I didn't want there to be a big space here. It matters when it comes to spacing afterwards. And this doesn't look like American Red Cross. This doesn't look like JJ Watt Foundation. And sure, if you have a problem with American Red Cross, I know there's a lot of stuff going on with it. I'm just using them as an example. Don't judge me. So over in my folder, I already have Charities, and I have American Red Cross, as well as, I know I use this American Red Cross logo, as well as I think this JJ Watt JPG. We'll see here in a sec how it works out. Sure, it's not fitting too well. If you want it to fit perfectly, what you can do is pull this in, and then you can scale this however you wish. However, you can unlock it here and just scale it, skew it if need be. But if it's a logo, you don't want to do that. But however, I'm just going to keep this in the repeat grid for consolidating purposes. You can play with that however you wish on your own time. And as you can see, this is swapped. I don't want it like this. So what I want to do is select Red Cross. I want to pull them in one at a time. And then I'm going to come over here to JJ Watt. I'm going to pull that one into there. And essentially how these work is you take your thumb and you're going to swipe so you can go on and see the more categories or charities and items that you can select within the home page. This is how it looks right now. Not too shabby, if I must say so myself. However, since we have such a big screen, we have all this open space. So what are we going to do with this open space? Let's add in a recent event that occurred where people need donations. So in recent times, we've had Hurricane Harvey and Hurricane Irma come through the United States. So what we're going to do is incorporate those in the recent tab so people will know to donate to that cause because maybe they didn't hear about an event that needs their help. So what we're going to do is we're going to take items again. We're going to copy, paste, Control C, Control V, and drag it down here. And we're going to name this recent. But however, what are we going to do? What are we going to do next? We're going to drag recent below charities because it's below charities. I'm going to change this to say recent. I just keep double clicking in order to get on the actual text tab. So we're going to change the size of these to be 97, so it's a nice perfect square. We're going to lock that into scale and we'll align this in a second, but I just want to get all the information here. But instead of having this come this way, I want to be able to scroll down. So let's come over to list, select on that, bring these all the way over to make sure this fits but it doesn't cut anything off. So let's scroll in a little bit. Alright, I want to drag water over here actually. So let me take a step back. Let me go to list. Let me just mess with this for a second. Alright, so basically what I did is I made this spaced off really far so you can't see it, but I want this to be all the way up against, and let's make it right around right here, so it's 15 off. And then I have text here because I didn't want anything overlapping. I don't want anything here because this is where text will go, and I am going to change these images. So let me change this text real quick. So we're going to change this location to 133 by 656. That's just how it worked out on my previous. We're going to change this to say Hurricane Irma sweeps the southern United States. But would you look at that? I still have it centered, so I want to make it left aligned. And I could have sworn I made this to be x equals 133. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to the end of each sentence, since this is for design purpose, delete the space, enter, delete the space, enter. So that looks nice and uniform. And then down here, of course, it's already in the same spot as this, and it's left aligned just like that. We're going to have this say, hand in hand is lending a hand to hurricane victims, or something like that. And that's what we're going to copy and paste in there. Looks like my camera shut off. Good thing I was recording on my computer. But as you can see, we need to change the images again. So as you've seen millions of times, I'm going to come over to my charities, just because that's where I keep these two things. And then select both, click and drag over. Boom. Hand in hand, which is I think something that Google set up or something of that nature. And then we're going to have the hurricane image there. However, we are still missing one thing. A footer nav bar. So let's create that. What I'm going to do is come back over to the US UI kit. And we're going to have 3 categories. So, whoops, I didn't mean to scroll. What we're going to do is come over to UI elements bars. We're going to select one of these two. I think this one will be more suitable. However, I am going to change the background on it. And I'm going to Command C, now that I see that it's selected, and Command V. So we're going to bring this down here. However, since the iPhone 10 is a little bit different, we have to make this, let's say, well, let's make it independently. Let's change background. Let's change this to 73. Seemed appropriate when I did it first. And then we're going to select all 3 tabs and draw those up. We're going to put those up to y equals 742. So right there seems appropriate. And why we did that, we're going to draw a line. We're going to draw a box down here, small skinny box. And we're going to take off the border of this skinny box. And we're going to make the height 4. We're going to make the roundness 2 because you're able to use this swipe function as the home button since we don't have it. And this is what they're representing that swipe deal for the home button as. So we're going to center that up, drop it down a little bit to 798. Going to make the width 125. However, we do have to recenter that. done deal. Made that white. Good stuff. Now we have to change this around. So where we're going to have this, it's going to be home. This is going to say search, and this is going to say donations. And what I want to do is change these two, all of these things to white. So let's change this to white. Let's hit plus to make this color consistent. Obviously it's all white or quadruple, quintuple, sextuple F. We're just going to do that. So when we select on it, we can just hit fill. Oh, not plus, but hit the actual white square. Click on this, keep double clicking until this shows up, white square. Same thing here, white square. And also, I did forget to incorporate one thing. Let's come back over to Charities. And we're going to make a square right here. And with this, we're going to add a more button. So we're going to make this 70 by 30. Border is going to be 2. Fill is going to be non-existent. And the roundness is going to be 16. But we're going to change this color to something else. And that color inside border is going to be F12 F98, which is a pink color. And we're going to keep it in that exact location because I like it. But within that, within this rectangle, that should be actually within the Charities tab. Within that, we're going to hit T and type more, but not all caps. We're going to type more. We're going to make it the same exact color. So actually, let's go back and select the pointer tool. And we're going to hit plus so we can reference this again. Fill that. We're going to change this to the consistent font, which is SF Pro Display. 13 font, 12 AV, 15 spaces. That's not what I wanted. 12 AV, 15 as the space. And we're going to center this within our little rectangle as best we can. And we're going to select both of these and hit Command G to group them together and just say more button. I'm going to close that back up. And I do keep this above all of these categories because it will be above all of these categories. And this right here, if you're not confused what I'm talking about, it's not the more button, it is the footer nav, which is this. And I was reminded to do that more button because down here I want this to be the same color as that more button. So select that, make it pink. Select this, make it pink as well. And also what we're going to do is select the background. We do have a top border, but we may delete that. We're going to select the background, incorporate background blur. So it looks a little bit nicer. We're going to drop that blur down a little bit. Maybe to 10 seems appropriate. We're going to drop the brightness down to -5. Maybe a little bit, 15. I think that's what we're at before, but that's what we're going with now. And instead of having this top border, what we're going to do is reselect this background. We're going to implement a shadow that is above. If I can remember correctly, that should make it -2 and then a little bit of a blur, so 2. You can't really tell with a black background, but when this is white behind, you could probably be able to tell what that says. I think that's halfway decent. What do you think? I think we're done with this actually. We have the footer, we have recent, we have charities, we have items. But first let's go to home and let's take off these so we can actually see what it looks like. I think it looks pretty good. If you wish to export this whole entire board, what you're going to do is come up to File, Export. Make sure all of this is selected. So make sure Home is selected or all of your screens are selected, or make sure nothing is selected if you want to incorporate everything. I choose iOS since this is iOS. And I say designed at 3x and it gives me 3 different sizes of whatever. I don't think that matters. I think I could just get away with 1x, but why not? Anyway guys, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to subscribe for more videos like this. I do a lot of iOS development, web development, things of that nature. Anything that has to do with the software development industry. I'm kind of tired from doing this because this is a longer video than normal. I normally just try to keep them around 10 minutes. I have this Friday Under 5 where I keep everything under 5 minutes. This one's longer than normal, but I think it was worth it. I hope you guys enjoyed, and be sure to subscribe, like, comment if you wish for me to make that, incorporating this video into a mock-up. And well, until next time, have a good one.